Hey y'all, it's your favorite cozy girl, Chi the Reality Queen, and I am back again with another episode of Robe Chronicles. Tonight we're going to be talking about Married at First Sight, the season finale, part 1 and part 2. And the reason why we're going to do both in one episode, despite both of them being almost 2-hour episodes, is because nothing happened. And it just makes me so angry that it was even 2 parts to this. There should have been one part. One 30-minute episode of each person saying yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. But instead, we had 2 episodes that were extremely long. Anyways, and I was so distraught, also out of the country, but now I'm back, and I just can't even believe what I watched. So the part 1 starts off, and like all the couples are talking about like, moving out because the next day is decision day, whatever. Honestly, all of that is irrelevant. We're just going to get straight to the decision day. I mean, the one point I will bring up is that everybody seemed really content and set in their decisions except for Kirsten and Shaq. Everybody was kind of like, okay, see you tomorrow. Like, it's decision day. Great, 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 great. Whatever. Everybody seemed pretty set except for Kirsten and Shaq. So the very first couple that goes is Eris and Jasmine. And Jasmine goes first and she talks about choosing herself and she says no. Then Eris goes and he says no, which obviously he was always going to say no. He never had intended to pretend to even say yes. And I was reading on Twitter because obviously I'm late to the game and everybody's like, oh, I'm so happy that Jasmine chose herself and this and that. And I'm like, did she though? Did she? I don't know if I quite believe that she said no on her own accord. I just don't think so. I think someone, production, Eris, whoever, might have tipped her off because the way she was behaving towards the end of their relationship, she was behaving like somebody who was prepared to say yes to this man. And I think to maybe save her that embarrassment, production or someone let her know. Speaking about their outfits, Jasmine looked like she was wearing like a pageant dress. Pretty. I thought it was pretty. And Eris's suit was terrible. It was ugly. Okay. After them, we had Chris and Nicole. Oh my God, Nicole's dress was stunning. That pink dress was like, whew. Oh, let me backtrack real quick because Eris said some really ridiculous ass stuff after, and he was talking about how he expected his marriage to involve a lot more sex and this and that. And the thing about Eris, I will say, is he didn't find her attractive and that was it. He could have been like Chris from season 13, not found her attractive and slept with her every other day, which would have given her mixed signals. He did not do that. So I know a lot of people don't like him and a lot of people are upset with him, but I 100% appreciate the fact that he was like, I don't find her attractive, so I'm not even going to waste her time like that. Like, he wasted her time and he wasted our time, but he didn't waste her time like that to the point where he was sleeping with her every other episode. And when he was rejecting her, he was saying like she doesn't love herself or something. I'm like, Eris, you don't like her because of whatever reason. Who knows? He never told us. You don't, that's it. You don't like her. It's okay. You don't like her. That's it. Move on. But I feel like he wanted to kind of put her down, even though he knew, or maybe he didn't think she was going to say no. I don't know. But regardless, the way he kind of put her down, I'm just kind of like, you didn't have to do that. You could have just been like, we both said no, excuse me, and moved on. All of that extra talk, nonsense. I'm like, shut it. And you could tell she was getting irritated. And I think she was irritated because a part of her wanted to say yes. And she's kind of looking like, dang, I almost said yes to this person that's putting me down like this. Insanity. So like I said, Chris and Nicole were next. Nicole looked immaculate. She was wearing like a hot pink or maybe a touch toned down from hot pink. Maybe it is hot pink. I don't know. Beautiful gown. Beautiful gown. Like, Nicole looked so good on decision day that I was like, wow, wow, maybe she should have worn a pink dress for her wedding. Like, it was hot. I loved it. And they basically talked. Honestly, we all knew what their decision was going to be from the beginning. They both said yes, obviously. Like, I feel like that was one of the most obvious couple decision that we came across. Then Chris is like, oh, I have a surprise for you, like after they both said yes. And he brings a bouquet of flowers. And I am not a flower girl. I don't like flowers, live flowers. I do like fake flowers. I think they're great because they don't die. And they don't smell so strong. Like, I have bad allergies, so I don't like flowers. So I was like, is this a surprise? Like, what? I don't know, because I feel like because he got her a ring in the beginning, he couldn't get her another ring. So he just kind of gave her flowers, and I just think it was a very lackluster surprise. He should have maybe done something more to Nicole's taste. Maybe bring a dinosaur costume for them to both get into, or something that he knows she would have liked. I think the flowers were a good gesture, but it wasn't a specialized gesture. But they both said yes, happily ever after. Then Gina and Clint go next, and I will say this about Gina. One thing about Gina is her hair is always going to be on point. Obviously, she's a hairdresser. Her earrings are always on point. And when she dresses up, she always looks good, because the dress she had on was fabulous. I absolutely loved it. But on the flip side, Clint looked good. I don't know if his suit was like light blue or mint. It was, baby, he was looking good. I thought he looked really, really nice in his suit. He didn't wear a tie. I don't think any of the guys wear a tie. They're all pretty, like, that's the funny thing. Even like Chris said, like, oh, I don't usually date thicker girls. Like, Chris, you are a thicker girl. Excuse me. No, but like, he didn't wear, I mean, he dressed up, so he looked okay. But I'm saying, like, Clint looked good. Like, Gina said he don't have swag. Gina said he don't dress well. But of all the men, he dressed the best to me. I immediately was like, wow, Clint looks really good, really put together. While they were making their decision, Gina was talking about how she never felt pursued and this. And Clint was like, no, I agree. That pissed me off, because I'm not saying that Clint couldn't have done more. I actually agree, he could have done more. But I feel like Gina gave him nothing for the entire 19 episodes. Well, not 19 episodes, because there were episodes that came before the wedding day, but the entire 19 episodes that we watched or whatever, Clint was doing, and she was giving him nothing. And then at the end, she's over here like, oh, I never felt pursued. I never felt wanted. I never felt this. Gina, shut the hell up. And I don't know if maybe they tell him, like, make sure you have a reason for why you're saying no and what your reasoning is. And she thought through it, and that was the best she could come up with. If I'm saying no because I don't like somebody, I went through this 8-week process and I found out I didn't like this person. I don't like how they behave. I don't like their character. Like that. Like, I like them as a friend, but I couldn't see past that. But she was over here now trying to blame Clint for not working harder as a husband to make her feel like a wife. Girl, you're raggedy, and you've been raggedy since about episode 4. Okay? And then Clint was just like, yeah, no, I see, I agree. I'm like, do you see? Do you see? Because I don't know. How do you see? How do you see? Because I don't see. And I don't think anybody else watching sees, because what's going on? And they said that they had a really good friendship. They just couldn't connect past that. And it's funny because she should have left it at that. But I feel like she was trying to blame him too much. And even when she was saying, like, oh, because he was like, we're just different people. He's like, I'm an outdoorsy guy. Like, I like to do a lot of stuff outdoors. And she's like, well, you didn't plan anything for us to do outdoors. Like, I'll go outdoors. Girl, everybody will go outdoors if you plan something. But that's not your natural inclination. Your natural inclination is not to go outside and hike or whatever. When he took you to the waterfall, you didn't even get in the water. You stood on the side like a freaking boring ass Betty and watched him and Hank over in the water. Like, you're not that person for him, and that's okay. Like, what I've realized is Gina pissed me off because she just didn't want to take, it was like a no fault of hers divorce. But what pissed me off is now when she's giving this decision, she's acting like Clint could have done all this and all that, and that would have saved the marriage. Baby, there was nothing Clint could have done for you to make you want to stay married to him, and that's okay, because you don't have to like him. But just be more honest. Don't try to act like he could have, there was something he could have done. There was nothing he could have done. And try to say like, oh, he didn't plan any dates, this and that. It's like, you're raggedy, because he did plan for you guys to go on that hike. And you went, not saying you didn't go, but you didn't fully participate. Then you guys went sailing, and you even said you had fun sailing. But you wouldn't allow him to get close to you. But he also knew that he was forcing you to do something that was out of your element. And honestly, he wasn't trying to force you. He wants somebody who already likes those things so he can feel comfortable doing those things with that person. So obviously they both said no, which was nice. And I agree with it. And then she says that Clint offered her $10K for Hank, which I don't think you could put a price on a fur baby, because I have mine. And if somebody offered me $10K, I would say no. But the way Hank likes Clint, I'm like, you might have to give him up because he might be happier. You gonna see that. You know how dogs get, if you have a dog, you know, dogs will get a little mopey and sad and won't eat. And I feel like the way Hank built a relationship with Clint, I could potentially see Hank being sad about not having Clint around. Like, I really could see that. But what she did offer him prior to the decision day, I think, was like, oh, he could take care of him when she's out of town and stuff like that. And I'm like, girl, you trying to get free daycare. He wants the dog. Okay. But yeah, so they both said no, and that was obviously seen from a mile away. Then we get to Kirsten and Shaq, and they get together and they're talking. And, you know, Pastor Cal and Dr. Pepper are like, oh, this is the couple we were in the most optimistic about. I mean, besides Nicole and Chris, like, we feel like we really matched two equally yoked people, and said, you know, so they go and they're talking about what they liked and what they didn't like. And Kirsten was like, you know, I think that this is a relationship that could work. And she says yes. Then we get to Shaq, and he's talking about how he wasn't able to lead in this marriage and this and that. And it's so funny because I was so sad that they cut to Pastor Cal and his glasses were off. One of my favorite things about MAFS, one of the reasons I continue to watch MAFS, is to watch Pastor Cal remove his glasses in anger or disgust, or when he's distraught, or he thinks somebody's saying something foolish. Watching Pastor Cal rip those glasses off and look at people sternly is one of my favorite things about Married at First Sight. And they robbed me of the opportunity to see Pastor Cal rip his glasses off while Shaq was talking. All we saw was him with his glasses already off. And you know what? I have been saying since about episode 3 that Shaq is a con artist. I do not believe his words. I don't believe what he says. Who Eris's cousin thought Jasmine was, somebody who was very practiced and presentable, like the pageant girl, is who I think Shaq is. Like, he gives all these theatrics and makes a scene and does all this for what? Because he's a fool. And he came, I'll be honest, I did not like Kirsten's dress. I feel like she probably came a little cash, but I wish she would have done a floor-length gown like all the other women. Like, I wish she would have done something along those lines. But Shaq is supposed to be Dapper Dylan or Dapper whatever, or I don't know, but he looked a fool. He looked like a clown in a clown suit. He looked like a clown. Okay, a literal clown. All he needed was a red nose, but I could envision it. He looked like a clown. He needed the little extra red around his mouth. He was a clown. Why are you wearing a suit with 4 different colors on it, or whatever it was? It was all over the place. It wasn't dapper. It was tacky, and he looked terrible. And I'm like, y'all talk so much bad about Clint and the way he dresses, or y'all, not y'all, but Gina. And I'm looking at Clint, and he came out as the most stylish man on decision day. He looked good. He came out there, his hair was combed and brushed or whatever. His suit was nice. He looked good. Whereas Dapper Dylan came out and looked like a whole fool. And so he goes and he's about to give his decision, and they cut it off to save us for another episode. Please free us from this hell, is what I said as that episode ended and we didn't have Shaq's decision. Free me. Free me. And you guys are like, well, if you hated it so much, why don't you stop watching? Because I am someone who has to finish something that they started. So no matter how much I hate it, I have to keep watching it, okay? And I think that's what Married at First Sight is banking on. They're banking on more people like me who, no matter how much you hate something, can't stop watching it and feel like, oh, I started, I have to finish, right? But season 17, your girl's not even gonna start it, because if I don't start it, then I won't feel the obligation to finish it. So what I'm going to do is hope that somebody like myself does reviews on season 17, and I could see if it's going to be worth it or not before I even invest 1 second. Because this is the first season that I just was so fed up. I'm not even Alyssa, who was like, I'm a good person, like, she bothered me, but that season overall was good. I thought, like, overall the season was good. I was watching this season cringing from start to end. Like, what am I watching? This is horrible. Like, not just one couple is horrible. 4 couples are terrible. Like, it was hard to watch. Actually 5, and we lost one early. Shout out to Dominique for leaving on time. But it was just hard to watch. And I just was so mad that this is the season that they want to play, let's put a decision, one singular decision on another day. Like, what are we doing here? So part 2, they start off with Shaq, and this mother freaker is crying, bawling, talking about, my decision is no. Why are you crying? And I'm so glad, because I said it, and then Kirsten said it, like, why are you crying? Like, she didn't say it to him, but like in her little confessional, she's like, why are you crying? Like, I should be the person that's crying. You're telling me no, but you're crying. Which just goes to further prove that Shaq is fake, 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 fake. Why are you crying? You're saying no. If it hurts you so bad, say yes. It reminds me a lot of Zach from season, I want to say 14, when he said no to Michaela. Just say no. Why are you crying? Telling her you're the best woman she's ever met, but you're saying no. If they're all those things that you're saying, say yes. And one thing I will give Kirsten is, Kirsten was looking at it more so as like, let's see how we work without any cameras. Probably because she knows she married somebody fake, and I would have just said no. But she looked at, and the way my girl disassociated as soon as she said no, you saw her lip quiver, and I know she wanted to call him all types of raggedy B words, but I think she held it together and just said, you know what? It's not worth it. Completely disassociated. He finished what he was saying, and she was just like, okay. Then Pastor Cal had to go put the nail in the coffin and say he's not going to find anybody better than her. And he's so right. Not because Kirsten is so great. And I think that's what people fail to realize. Kirsten, she's a pretty girl. She's smart, whatever, she cool. I don't think she's that, like, perfect, that great, that wonderful, that Shaq is like, and Shaq is so, so bad. What they're talking about is Shaq's personality is actually insufferable. So if you find somebody who's actually kind of willing to deal with you, it's like, Shaq, take it. You guys, what we don't realize on our side is Pastor Callan and Dr. Pepper are watching hours of film or the highlights of whatever they're showing them, which is even more than we probably get to see. Production is showing that to them, so when they go and talk to these couples, they can tell them what's going on. Pastor Cal knows that Shaq is whack. He knows that. He knows that. He sees the video. Like, this guy isn't genuine, this guy is whack, this guy isn't masculine, this guy is so many wrong things. And this girl here was willing to be like, oh, let me just take a chance since we're already here, because even if it doesn't work out, you could say, we know for sure. Like, while the cameras were following us around, we couldn't really get into our groove. But when we moved into regular life, we were able to get into a groove where we could work. He couldn't even. And Pastor Cal knows that. He watched, and Shaq didn't want to do that, but then he's in tears crying. Like, so annoying. But yeah, so I was kind of sad for my girl Kirsten because she had to say yes and he said no. But a part of me also feels like I don't know when their contracts are up or when they won't be bound by those contracts. But I hope we find out that Kirsten only said yes because they told her to, because honestly, everything was so predictable. And that might have been the only one that, not that it wasn't predictable, but it was the only thing that came with a little bit of shock value. I don't think we've had a season where somebody said yes and the other person said no when we thought both people would either say no or both people would either say yes in a while. So I think it was a little bit of a shock. But ultimately, I don't think she cared that much. Like, it's like, okay, like, you don't want me? Cool. But, I'm the best thing you had, is what I think she believed. And I believe it too. And Pastor Cal believed it. And he knows, like, we're over here sitting in our homes like, what's Pastor Cal talking about? He's watched probably hours of their tape and spoken to Shaq and spoken to Kirsten and know them personally, unlike us on the viewer side who are just making our assumptions based on, oh, I like Shaq because I think Kirsten's crazy and she asked him for a $2 million house. Whoever thinks that she doesn't deserve that $2 million house, you guys are losers and haters, okay? Because I think everybody deserves exactly what they want if they can find somebody to give it to them. Shaq may not be the person that can give her a $2 million house, but I pray she finds somebody that will give her a $2 million home. And if you want a $2 million home and you want a man to buy you one, or if you want a woman to buy you one, I hope that you get that too. I don't know why, because you can't get it and no one's doing it for you, that people think that other people don't deserve it. If you want your partner, man or woman, to buy you a $2 million home, and that is your goal in your marriage, that is what I want for you. You hear me now? I'm not a hater. That's what I want for you. I don't care if people think it's unreasonable. That's what you want. You may not get it, but that's what I hope you get, right? Because that's who I am. I want people to be happy. I want people to be overjoyed and live the lives that they want. But y'all be on the internet haters talking about why would she deserve? She deserves it because she wants it. And if somebody's willing to give it to her, great. If someone's not willing to give it to her, sorry. Right? But I can want that for her because that's what she wants for herself. So then we go and we see everybody. I think they're packing up their homes because, decision day has passed. Clint talks with his friends about marriage. Mac goes to look at a house. Why is he pretending? Like, honestly, I think Mac's story is so annoying and so fake and so, just irritating. Like, everything about Mac irritates me. I don't like him. He personally didn't do anything to me, but the character that he plays is so irritating to me that I just don't want to see him on my screen. So him going to fake look at this house that we know he's not going to buy because Mac's going to be in the next city by the time they're done following them. Yeah, mark my words. Save this video. Pause it right here. Save it. Mac probably going to be in a new city by the time all this is done. Kirsten's talking cash shit about Shaq crying on decision day. And so she says she's tired of dating. She knows she wants to be married now. And that's one thing I think the show can really teach you. Gina says she's ready for marriage, but it's not a believable thing because it's like, girl, not for one day did you do anything for another person. You were a very, very selfish wife. Like, maybe she thinks that's how marriage should go, but She didn't do nothing. She didn't cook. She didn't do nothing for her man. She wasn't there for her man. She wasn't nothing. But she's like, oh yeah, I think I'm ready for marriage. What about your experience makes you believe that you're ready for marriage when you didn't even put in any effort or provide anything for the person that you were married to for the past 8 weeks? Like Kirsten, if she says, okay, I'm ready for marriage, I kind of believe that. Jasmine, I believe that. Eris, he's also somebody I don't believe. Oh, I'm ready to be married. What did you do to make people believe, or even yourself believe, that you're ready for marriage in the way you behaved? Like, some people are so selfish and they literally can't see it. Eris was very selfish. Shaq was very selfish. Gina was very selfish. None of those people did for their partner. I'm not saying Shaq didn't do anything for his partner, and I'm not saying Eris didn't do a little bit of the work, but Gina did nothing. Nothing at all. So I don't know why she would think that she's ready for marriage. Eris, at least he was willing to do the little parts where it was like, oh, work on this, do that. Like, I think Eris is actually wants to work on himself, but that doesn't mean he's ready for marriage. And that's what I think. And I think Shaq isn't ready for marriage because Shaq isn't stable. Shaq wants somebody he could build with, but Shaq also wants to lead a home. You cannot lead a home that you built together like this, like that, the way he wants to lead, right? Like, I believe he can lead a home with a partner, but that partner has to trust in you to lead you guys to the right place. Shaq doesn't bring that energy in, that he's ready to lead a home in the way that he wants to lead it. He has not accomplished and is not where he needs to be to do that. And so that's my problem with Shaq. Shaq has a vision of what he believes he needs to do and how to lead a home, but Shaq's life is not set for him to lead a home. I think what Shaq needs, I know he went to therapy, but I think Shaq needs to learn or figure out what he has to do and what place will he be at, or he needs to be at, to be like, okay, I'm now making $200,000. I'm in my job. I'm in my career. Everything is squared away. Let me go find a spouse and lead that home. I believe that Shaq can do that in that space. But I think if Shaq is still in school and Shaq's not where he wants to be, he's not going to be able to lead a home the way in his mind he believes he can lead a home. That's what I think Shaq's problem is. I think if Shaq is making what he needs to make and is settled, right, then he could get a partner that can match him, and those two people can work and he can lead that home. I believe that of Shaq, despite thinking he's fake. But I think that in his mind, he wants to lead a home while he's still working to get to where he wants to be. And that's not how he can lead a home. Like, he can't lead a home as he's working on it. He needs to be established and settled to lead a home. Jasmine goes back to her house. She moves back to her house. She's talking with her aunt, telling her that, you know, she's not, that Eris wasn't 100% in at the whole time. And her aunt was talking cash money shit about Eris. She was like, so he was just faking. He was over here lying in our face. And I'm like, you know, I like when people come with that real energy. Like, this is a television show, but please come with some good energy. And her aunt came with that energy. She was like, no, he's fake. She was like, what do you mean? Like, she was shocked. Probably because she's like, we all were at that wedding. It seemed like you guys would have been a good time. And the funniest part, she took her wine back. She gifted them a wine, I guess, for their wedding. And, you know, Jasmine brought it back and she took it back because the wedding didn't work out. But honestly, like, sometimes you get these pockets of fresh air because people, like, yes, obviously she knows she's there. She's talking to her niece because of the show, but her honesty was so refreshing. It was nice. You don't see that very often. I think people are, you know, the cameras are on action and they feel like they have to put on a show. And I feel like her aunt was exactly who her aunt always is. And I appreciated that from her. Carson and Nicole meet up, and Nicole's like, oh, I thought you guys should have stayed together, blah, blah, blah. Are you going to hit him up? And Carson's like, if you want to talk to me, he can hit me up. I will never talk to him again. And I was like, yes, you don't go crawling back to people who told you no. He rejected her. Why would she ever talk to him again? Why would she ever, like, he said no, your number is deleted. I don't ever want to talk to you. It's over. Like, I'm sorry. People were calling that bitter, but I'm like, no, that's life. You told me no. I didn't tell you no. So what do we have to discuss? We don't have nothing to discuss. Okay? Nothing. Eris meets with his friends. He's over here like, oh, I'm ready to hit the streets again. He goes, it's his friend's girlfriend, Cheese. His friend Cheese's girlfriend. I think his name is Cheese. And she's like, oh, I could try to hook you up with one of my friends and this and that. And I'm like, Eris, please, relax. I mean, he don't have too much time because he's 39. He feels old, but it's like, you're not ready to be married. You need to worry about why you're not ready to be married at 39, despite wanting to be married, right? Like, you say you want it, but you need to figure out why and what you can do to actually be ready to take on a spouse, to not be so selfish, you know? And I think that's what happens. It's like the people who come on this show, they're like, oh, I'm ready to be married. I want to be married, because people think marriage is about an age, right? Like, oh, you're 35. Oh, you're 30. Oh, you're this. That means it's time to be married. But people actually haven't worked through what marriage actually consists of and why people get married, right? Like, if you don't work through that, if you don't come to those conclusions on your own, you can't just be like, oh, I'm 39, so it's time for me to get married. Oh, I'm 30, it's time for me to get married. Like, I don't agree with that. Then Shaq's friends come over. They're shocked. They trying to figure out what happened. And I have my thoughts on that, but I'm going to keep them to myself. I think his friends were shocked. Well, I'm going to share them anyway. I think his friends were shocked because they too, like Pastor Cal, were like, Shaq, you got a great girl and you flopped it. That's what I think they think. They absolutely believe that, because they were sitting there like, are you going to hit her up again? Is this over for real or just over for now? Like, they looking at him like, because you know what? They're probably afraid he going to come back and tell him that he's dating one of his mentees. That's probably what they're afraid of. Not that it matters if he ends up dating one of his mentees. It shouldn't matter, actually. But they're just kind of like, you have this great person, and I think those mentee relationships is what's messing him up. He likes people to look up to him. That's what he likes. He likes people that need him, that look up to him, that want to do and emulate him. Like, your wife shouldn't be that person. Your wife should be your partner. I don't know. Nicole and Chris found a place to live. I'm like, so all this stress and y'all was just gonna sign a lease anyway? And then Chris was like, well, if we're signing a lease, you need to change your last name. And Nicole was like, bet. Got all the paperwork, pulled it out. Like, I got all the paperwork. We can go ahead and do that today. I mean, obviously it takes time, but she was ready. I was proud of her. I was like, wow. I don't know why I thought that would be a bigger topic for her, but she was ready to sign the paperwork and she was ready to go. Yeah. Then all the couples from this season meet at axe throwing, including Tom and Mac. I was like, what? You know, well, because they always do that meetup afterwards to tell people what decision that they made. And it was so obvious what Carson and Shaq's decision was, because they didn't even sit next to each other. Everybody at least tried to pretend and sit close. Carson was on one side, Shaq was on the other. They didn't even play. We are not together. Obviously, Dom and Mac, we knew they weren't together because it was like, you know, whatever. Then they show Dom is talking about how she's doing well. She's like, she got a job. And Mac, the hater, see, this is why I don't like him, had to go and be like, she works 9 to 5 and she's so selfish. I can't believe she would get a dog. And I'm like, sir, you have 2 dogs that you left behind so you could follow this show around, and she's irresponsible dog owner? Okay. Like, I don't like people like that. Like, make sure you don't live in a class house before you start throwing stones. Like, you have 2 dogs that you didn't even bring with you to Tennessee because you're too busy trying to be on Married at First Sight. You don't have a job. You own your own company, meaning that you probably have more time, and you work from home. You probably have more time to take your dogs out and all this stuff. You didn't bring them, but you want to get on Mac, who got a dog and is, you know, taking care of her dog. Big hater vibes, bro. Big hater vibes. Um, and everybody's talking about their decision and this and that, and they're talking about Kirsten, like, oh, because Kirsten and Shaq say, Kirsten says she says yes, Shaq says he says no, whatever, and everybody's like, oh shit, basically, because it's like, oh, didn't see that coming, or maybe they did see it coming, but basically they're like, oh, well, do you guys think, Kirsten's like, once you're done, you are dead to me. And let me tell you, I love that energy. That is you're dead to me. I don't have to talk to you about nothing. Like, why am I talking to you? I don't have nothing to say to you. You left me. We don't never need to talk again. Like, we got to talk because the show is still requiring us to record together. But like, they even show like, when Shaq went to the house to move his stuff, Kirsten was already gone. She already packed all her stuff. She probably asked production, when is he not going to be there? And she packed all her stuff. They even showed her when she was leaving the house flipping the bird. I was like, I love it. I think it's hilarious. Like, she can be bitter. She can be bitter. Like, I think, sorry, she got played because she said yes, he said no. And that sucks. It definitely sucks. But I'm wondering, and I really want to know, is she upset because they told her to say yes and he said no? Or is she upset because she really was hoping to try and then he said no? I want to know which one it is. I think it's the latter, but I hope it's the former, right? Like, I hope they told her, because I'm like, girl, why would you even say yes to him? Because I would have never said yes, but everybody's different. So then Dom leaves early. She's like, well, thanks for having me. And I like Dom. A lot of people don't like her. They think she's immature and this and that. And I was like, but Dom is the only person that is being her. She's like, I don't want, like, this didn't work out. I don't want to hang with y'all. I'm leaving. Like, why am I sitting here? It's the same way everybody was mad at Alyssa talking about, oh, well, I want to hang out with my friends, but she don't like her man. Is the same way Dom is like, y'all not about to get me out the paint talking about I'm sticking around trying to be on TV to hang out with these people when I came for a relationship. I came for a relationship. I didn't get a relationship, so I'm gone. There's nothing else for me to be doing on Married at First Sight. Like, let me see if I can fulfill whatever additional contractual obligations they have for me, and then I'm out. You didn't see her lingering around the way they had Mac lingering around. Like, they even showed us seeing Dom kiss Clint during the season, and I don't know why they kept on using that as bait but never actually showed us the episode. And the episode happened way earlier in the season because, one, Dom's hair was straight, two, Jasmine was sitting in Eris's lap, so it was clearly during the season, and they refused to show us that episode. I don't know why they cut it. I don't know what happened, but to me, it's silly. Then she leaves, and then Nicole, raggedy Nicole, because Nicole is raggedy, goes and asks, hey, Gina, are you willing to give Dom a chance Mac a chance if he likes you, if you guys want to date? Why are you trying to play matchmaker? And why are you trying to play matchmaker in front of Clint? I'm not saying Clint cares, because Clint may not like Gina at all. Clint may not care about Gina at all. But it's like, that's just rude. Like, to me, it's rude. She's like, in the after party, she's like, oh, he didn't care. It doesn't matter if he cares, girl. There's a thing called tact. You just don't have any, right? Like, that's tactless. It's tacky for you to try and hook up somebody. Like, two people could divorce. Who cares if they don't like each other? It's tacky to try to hook them up immediately in front of their face. Like, ugh, Nicole, that was tacky. And I like Nicole. But yeah, the episode ends. Clint's a little off guard. There's still more episodes because they say they're following them from decision day. I'm like, oh my God, when will this end? But apparently not yet. We have our decisions, but it's not over yet. We see that Gina and Mac go out. I think it looks like Clint and Dom meet up. And honestly, I'm just like, end season 16. It needs to be over. But you know what the thing is that I think that they dragged out one of the worst seasons of this show. Like, there's so many other seasons we could have followed people afterwards. This just shouldn't have been one of them. And also, the couples dating each other, like, people are like, well, why did they have Clint meet up with Dom, or Dom is going out with Gil, or whatever it was, and Gina and Mac. But I'm like, this is what they do. Every season in the past, they've always tried to hook up someone with the previous season. Alyssa went out with Ryan. And then we found out Lindsay also tried to hook up with Ryan or whatever it was. So they do this. They had Chris go out with a girl from a previous season. It's just what they do. So I'm not surprised or shocked. But I guess we're going to have to see how it plays out. Actually, I'm excited to see this after stuff more so than I was excited to see the original show. Like, the decisions are done. We know who stayed together, who didn't. And now I'm just excited. Like, I'm excited to see who Jasmine goes on a date with. They don't show us the guy, but the guy said he's attracted to her, and then they kiss. I'm like, thank God. But obviously, you know, anybody will kiss Jasmine for the cameras because Eris also kissed her on their wedding day. So I'm hoping that this guy actually finds her attractive for real and not because the cameras are there. The way they brought those guys to that club, wherever they were, like, those guys were paid actors too. Like, do people really find Jasmine attractive, or they only find her attractive if there's a camera put in their face? So who knows? But I'm actually excited to see these parts. I'm actually glad the show is over. I'm maybe not excited, but more so curious to see what they got going on. So please like, comment, subscribe. Tell me what you think about this season, how you felt overall with these decisions, how they split the decision day. That was a bad idea, in my opinion. And yeah, we'll see. I'm just glad that we are done with these couples and we know that 4 out of 5 did not work. All right, see you guys next time. Bye.